Welcome to Son Coaches Podcast, Season 9, brought to you by ScoreboardFundraising.com. For any of your fundraising needs out there that you may need, get with ScoreboardFundraising.com. Over the past year, they've helped more than 1,000 teams across the Southeast run simple, effective fundraisers from popcorn to online donations. We'll give you more information on that as we go on with the show. It's Easter Sunday, and as always on Sundays, I'm excited to be joined by the Executive Director the Georgia Fired Football Coaches Association, Coach Ed Gaffca. Thanks for being on with me.
Happy Easter. Happy to be here. Hope everybody had a blessed Easter and enjoyed the festivities.
Absolutely. We took Captain Insano down up to Augusta yesterday and dropped him off with his grandparents, and I got about all of the Masters traffic and hullabaloo that I want. I'll watch it on TV. Even though my family has badges, I don't care to go. We will watch from the comfort of the living room here on number 8 at Southern Hills in Hawkinsville because, yeah, it's cool to go. It's neat to see, but once you've been once, Augusta's already a mess, much less when you add another 4 or 5 million people to the pot. It's just not my kind of gig. But this week you have written, well, you wrote a really good article earlier in the week, which I thought was the 7 truths about high school football or coaching high school this day and age. And then here in the past 3 hours, you got fired up and fired off 2 more bangers. But we'll address the first one first, Coach, the 7 truths of coaching about coaching high school football today.
Yeah, and I'll kind of go point by point and let you kind of chip in here. But ultimately, the 7 things, I'll start with number 1, and that is social media has warped reality. No, none of us are ignorant. None of us live under a rock on this thing. We all know that social media plays a massive part in any industry and any kind of vertical that you're in. But when it comes to high school football and coaching, it has drastically affected every aspect of how we approach players, how we communicate, how we are able to disseminate information, and ultimately, I think it's also clouded the judgment and expectation for parents as well because when you sit there and look and see these kids and parents posting about their kid getting these offers and da 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 da, it's just one thing after another that only makes doing our jobs as football coaches significantly harder. I made a I made a point to say that, if Iraq hosted an all-star game, we'd have parents signing their kid up just to post, "Honored and blessed to be invited to the battle of the best in Baghdad, hashtag all glory to God." And I stand by that because we have that dumb of parents who are just out there to post some silly-ass graphic. They'll pay as much money to apply to go to the Hawaii Tiki Bowl and just realize that you can go online now. You can sign your name up and have a fake, catfish type recruiting profile. Send that and all your measurements and stuff to the Hawaiian Tiki Bowl. They'll put it under review. You'll get a nice little email back that says, "Hey, welcome to the dang gang. You're an all-star." That's great. You now get an invitation in the mail. You get a graphic that you can tweet out to show how special you are to you and all your buddies. Now, you have to pay for your expenses and everything. So it's all just a joke. It's all bullshit. It's all ridiculous, but it's definitely changed the way that we have to consistently communicate, address the expectations, and really it's only poisoned the well, for coaches, parents, everything around because we just have to deal with so much more bullshit than ever before.
Yeah, and that kind of ties into the last week where we saw the 12-year-old committing to whatever 7-on-7, 10, whatever. It's the same kind of nonsense. It's self-hype, it's self-promotion. We see it from a particular college football team out there where everybody now has to create their own brand, create their own whatever they feel that they need to do. And what's really sad and disheartening to me is that the American population is not getting any less ignorant. You would think that with NIL and understanding and seeing after 2 years, 3 years of this, that they would get the memo on how they're not recruiting high school kids at the level that they were previously. Therefore, you need to take whatever offer you get, run with it, be glad, and go show up and get to work, and then get in the portal and portal up. I mean, that's the thing you're going to have to do now. If you're not one of the quote unquote 5-star mega whatever kids, and most aren't. If you're not one of those guys that's going to go walk on a campus and play as a freshman, which most aren't, then you've got to understand where we are in this, and all glory God, and blessed and highly favored to receive an offer which is probably not even committable from Ukibuki University. That is not the way. Number 2 says the best team isn't always the best program. Now, I like this one, so I'd like for you to expound on that one, Coach.
Yeah, and basically exactly what you said, right? It's basically, the best team used to be one that developed its own players, kind of built continuity from the rec feeder to middle school and on up, and really, you had roots in the community where you had generations of people that coaches that had coached, you know, your dad, your brother, your brothers, everybody, right? And that was very special and unique about high school football. And well, now the best teams are often ones that seems to acquire talent the fastest or in the most bulk. And they also are ones that understand how to kind of toe that line a little bit and bend the rules to make all those things possible. It's not necessarily a development of the young programs and middle school and the rec teams. It's all right, who is somebody that we can go out there and get? Who's somebody that we can go out there and improve our roster? Now, that's been going on for a very long time. It's not foreign to anything, but the standard has increased across the board. Those same good programs that there are still programs that still build the same way. They will still have, they're not going to be state champions every year or even compete for it, but they're still going to be a really tough football team. They're still going to be really hard to beat, but ultimately they're not going to have as good of a chance at winning the big one just because, they don't have, one kid that another team has. Because at the end of the day, it's not like those coaches that acquire talent are necessarily bad football coaches. I think they're good football coaches, a lot of them. But is it easier to coach a good player or a bad player, right? I mean, I think we all know the answer. So, at the end of the day, I think that's what's changed the most. It's more player management and roster management as more of a standard operating procedure than it is how do we prepare and build towards the future. I think part of that is also the impatience that we have as in administration and communities of like, hey, this coach has been here 2 years and he hadn't turned it around. Yeah, that nobody gets more than 4 years anymore. You're lucky to get four. Anything on top of 4 years at your current job, I mean, count your blessings. So I think that's more along the lines of what has changed more so now than 10 years, 15, 20, 30 years ago is there's more of this increased amount of the acquiring players, the roster management, opposed to the emphasis on development of kids.
Development of kids, and it's at the college level too. It's the reason why the year in and year out, University of Georgia is always in it. They're notorious for developing, young roster. They were a little young last year. They're supposed to be very good this year, but at the high school level, you would think this would go without saying, but of course not. It has bled down. And a lot of that has to do with point number 3, parents suck more than ever.
Well, and if anybody doesn't believe me on that one, then I don't know. I I mean, I'd love to go and listen to the parents that you deal with, but parents have now made it almost impossible, at times because they used to understand that it was good to have your kids tested and go through, different, different levels of challenges and have failures and figure out how to respond to that. That used to be the thing, right? Like that used to be something that mattered. But they are now so protective of their kid and their exposure and their rankings and their clicks and their commitments that now it's all about how can I make my kid look special, not let him have a chance to fail. Trust the men that are in that, field house to pour into him and help him overcome some of these things, him leaning on his teammates, all of those things, those lifelong lessons that are very, very beneficial, important. And I think that just football's different than every other sport because of you doing your job affects the 10 guys beside you. They have to trust you, you have to trust them. And when you fail them, you have those 10 guys to answer to first and foremost. But now with these parents, it's I don't give a shit if they won or lost. How did my kid play? Right? And that's the problem. Parents are the worst. And I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I really, really wish we could just pay for all those SOBs to get therapy and to understand that stop living, vicariously through your kid, please, because it's over the top now, and I mean you're gonna get me off on a rant here, but I'm gonna tamper it down. Just again, I've ran into more piece of shit parents that do it under the guise of I'm just looking out for my kid than ever before. And I can't do it anymore. Like those are the people that are in the crosshairs. And every single time I have a chance to call out stupid ass parents, I'm going to do it.
Well, I was very proud and very excited this past Friday as they had honors day at my son's school. And, I don't work at the school that he's at. I made some decisions, and that's just the way it is. I probably could have been there, would have made a lot less money, and wouldn't have been able to do what I wanted to do coaching wise. But with that being said, it was honors day, and he won an award for all A senior year, A average for his senior year. And, he's not gonna graduate with honors, he's just gonna miss that, but he did what I'm getting around to was anything my child did, he did it on his own. He didn't have me over there because his daddy coaches here, because his daddy teaches here, or any of that other stuff. Anything that he's ever accomplished, he's accomplished on his own. And, does that make me parent of the year? No. Not saying that at all. I'm just saying that it's very difficult for people that think like I do that to deal with the others that don't. He's either gonna make it or he's not on his own. He's gonna figure it out or he's not on his own. Am I gonna let him completely fall apart and end up on the street somewhere? No. But am I gonna go helicopter around and make sure everything's set up for him to be successful? No, not doing that either. I told my father this weekend he's going to Middle Georgia. When do they start? I don't know. He knows. He's got the email. He'll either figure it out or he won't. And if he doesn't, then he knows what the next step's going to be, what he's going to go join the workforce doing, whatever. So I agree. I don't know what happened. I don't know when it happened. I don't know why it happened. But if it doesn't get rectified very quickly, and it's not just on the ball field, it's in the classroom. I mean, you about can't give them an extra assignment for something without them raising Cain about this isn't fair, whatever. The fairs where they have Ferris wheel rides and they put blue ribbons on pigs. And somewhere along the way, we lost track of that. And it kind of leads into your number 4, exposure is a business Ponzi scheme. Yes, yes, it is. Big time. If you don't understand what that is, then coach is fixed to explain it to you.
Yeah, again, exposure is a non-quantifiable resource that has been perpetrated and spouted out by your recruiting gurus, your skill trainers, for the better part of the last several years. And they were just, making money off of the hopes and dreams of kids. If somebody comes to you and sells you exposure, they are a snake oil salesman and you should encourage them to go kick rocks, right? Like that's what you should do. Um, I believe it's in the best interest of anybody that's listening to this to realize that exposure doesn't exist because you can't quantify it. You can't tell me how are you actually measuring that and how to what are the definitive qualities of exposure. Not one of them. Not one person. If you come at me and tell me, oh, it's by increasing how often my name's out there.
So yeah, it's a Ponzi scheme. Everybody knows it. If you don't, then that's on you. I don't understand what we could possibly say more to get people to understand this. I mean, a lot of times the people that listen to this, they're coaches, they're in the business, they know we're kind of preaching to the choir. The next one we'll skip, number 5, you talked about development. That's not a thing anymore, but one of your favorite things that you love talking about is the transfer culture. Number 6, the transfer culture isn't going anywhere. What you got?
Yeah, no, I mean, again, that's not going anywhere. So let's all realize that, accept it. We can hate it, we can disagree with it, but at the end of the day, that's where we're at, right? I mean, that there's nothing more American than somebody wanting to pick up, move, and better their situation. Okay, like there isn't. Um, I believe that people should have that opportunity to. I just don't believe that you should do so under the guise of leading kids to Christ, right? Like, don't be disingenuous about it. Because again, I think that when you are disingenuous about it, Josh Niblett, there are just very, very specific things that I'm going to poke holes in. And there's very specific things that you're not going to have an answer to or you won't respond to because, well, let's face it, that's not the image that you want to portray. But to me, that's where I feel like the cross-eyed bear at times is to call out the bullshit, right? Call out that nonsense. So whenever I think about this transfer culture not going anywhere. Again, if you want to build your facilities, promote your team, and it makes it an attractive place to go, got nothing against it. Do it. Just don't DM kids. You've heard me say it 1,000 times. If you're DMing 14 to 17, 18-year olds, okay, and if you even dip into that lower pool, you're either cheating or a pedophile. There is no in between. So understand it's one of those two things. The moment you go and click on a kid's profile and start DMing, I want you to have a mirror, look at yourself and say, am I cheating or am I a pedophile? No other way around it. Okay. So realize that's the judgment that I will place upon you moving forward. But yeah, the transfer culture isn't going anywhere. Accept it, adapt to it, realize what it is, and move forward.
Well, we said many times on here before that they've been recruiting kids in the state of Georgia since before we had really nice mass produced vehicles. This isn't a new phenomenon. This has been going on all over the state. So that's not new. The only thing that is new is with, as you said, DM and young people. And the last thing, college football changed everything, and high school has paid the price. We touched on this earlier, but I'll let you run with that one, Coach.
Yeah, ultimately, when it comes down to it, if you're a college coach and you've got film from a 20-year old, that's played at a collegiate level, that's going to hold a lot more weight than a 18-year old that's unproven. Um, I think that it's just a trickle down effect of that this is the reality that we live in now. Um, you're not going to have as many kids go from high school to some of those Power Four or Division 1 opportunities as you probably would have at one time. Those fringe kids are definitely going to be your your lower division guys or a Division 2 or FCS type guy. But I think that's not necessarily the worst thing at times, but it's definitely something that we're feeling. Parents don't understand it, so it's more about us not being able to get their kid the exposure, quote unquote, that that they think that it would require them to get those offers, and that's the frustrating part. So to me, um, if there's if we end up getting to a place where there are, kind of some guiding lines and principles and parameters, I think everything will be a lot better, a lot smoother. But I don't think we're ever getting back to that same level that were once at.
Well, hey, coaches, if your team needs to raise money, check out Scoreboard Fundraising. In the past year, they've helped more than 1,000 teams across the Southeast run simple, effective fundraisers, from popcorn to online donations. Call Mike James at 770-680-3424 or visit scoreboardfundraising.com. A lot of the guys I know are using them. They do a great job. Most of them are all old coaches or current coaches. They understand what we go through. So if your program's looking for a different way to raise money, to help support your program, please reach out to Mike James at 770-680-3424. So that pretty much wraps up that article. I thought it was great. And those are all truths. It's not old man yelling at clouds. I don't think there's anything crazy or negative. It's just things that are different about the game now than they were when I first got into it. Now, the next article that I've always complained about, that I love that you did a deep dive into, as you always do with things, is the state championship games and where we play them. So I'm going to let you cook on this one, Doctor.
Yeah, well, again, I think that the report that came out obviously had us dipping into reserves. We didn't make any money on it, right? And to be honest with you, I go back and forth, right? Like I think that at the end of the day, the number one argument that I see, even in the replies to the article and everything like that, is always, well, Arthur Blank should do this. Arthur Blank doesn't owe us one damn bit. Okay, he didn't make billions of dollars to by giving shit away for free. Okay, um, do you think he wants some of the white trash people that make up some of our communities going and tearing his shit up? No, it comes at a cost. And to me, you know, could we get a better discount? Sure. Okay. But I'm not sitting here asking, for that when we have a bunch of other options. If your number one concern is, you know, weather, fine. Okay. But now you understand you have to pay for it. It comes at a premium. It comes at a cost. And that's the cost right there. That's the cost. Accept it or not, but don't bitch about it when you see the bottom line. There is no in between. And then when you start talking about the other factors that go into it, Georgia High School has I quoted it as it's like the old school USSR with how they limit media, they limit broadcasting. You know, I understand. God love GPB, okay, but whoever watches the Birds of Georgia during a week, I mean, they have like 38 viewers, okay, and the fact that we don't have the basketball games, the state championship basketball games broadcast on GPB, we got to go to YouTube and other areas to find them is beyond me. It's beyond me. Can't find baseball. Can't find any other sport. But hell yeah, we're gonna have football on there. Thank God for GPB here, and arguably the worst combination of play-by-play and color announcers in the history of the sport. But I digress, and I want to sit here and really harp on the fact that there is other ways to make money. If you needed to overcome some of that cost, up the cost that you charge people for the media rights. Let more people have access at a cost. Let more people broadcast it. Let more organizations who make money off of their content for football buy in and make more money, because you know what happens? You get that money, that offsets a cost, and now our numbers go up. It's kind of basic, right? Like it's not this overly confusing thing. Or you can just say, hey, hmm, we could go back and have the semifinals there, but you're going to run into the same issue. You still have a scheduling problem because that is a professional stadium. It's also a bowl site. They have concerts. They have a bunch of stuff there. We can't take it up, all damn week. And the reality is, now that you've added flag football, and I know that's a real crowd pleaser of all 48 people that show up to that shit. But, again, they can go out there and we could draw lines on the goddamn parking lot and it'd be the same damn thing. Just do that. And guess what? You ain't got to pay for anything but like a parking space rental. And you just submit that for an ordinance down there at Atlanta, at the dang city hall. But, the reality that we're faced with now is you have a bunch of people that are on both sides of this argument. The people who want Arthur Blank to flip the bill, yeah, no, you're never getting anywhere with that. So stop it. He's not an elected official. You can't pressure him. You can't make him feel bad. It's not going to happen. But ultimately, what we're looking at is we've got more, Division 1, Division 2, really good stadiums across the state that would be very accessible, very accommodating to different programs, and really you could do it a bunch of different ways. I've proposed, round robin in that thing every year of having it at Georgia, Georgia Tech, Georgia State, Kennesaw, Mercer, Statesboro, Valdosta, wherever, right? And or just do it where from a geography standpoint, wherever the two teams, what's the closest, nearest, best stadium for a neutral site game? But again, that takes a little bit of planning, a little bit of thinking, and a little bit of flexibility. That I mean, we all know it's not going to happen. But if the bottom line here is being upset about that number, the distribution number, well, you got to figure out what can we eliminate? What can we add to, up that moving forward? And or if we can't do any of that, we've just got to bite the bullet and say, y'all want a weather, controlled climate, facility. This is the one that we have. So that's the price you have to pay. Accept it, move on. Don't bitch about it moving forward. Because I'm not going to sit here and say next year when they release these numbers, if they're lower, I'm gonna just sit there and say, "Yeah, no, you opted for this. That's what you opted for. So take it and run with it. But don't sit here and bitch about something when you haven't provided an alternative. You haven't, you know, realized that hey, there are other options because you don't want to go sit in the damn cold or risk the rain or the snow or the ice, whatever. Again, it's high school football, guys. It's high school football. And at the end of the day, I'm of the opinion that, you know, high school football should be played on Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. The fact that you're playing this shit on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday during a school week, again, your attendance is going to be low anyway because normal Americans are working. And also, you have, there's less likely that kids are going to be able to go there. Because you're also banking on administration saying, "Hey guys, we're gonna let you out early, have a bus, all this other stuff." Well, that's another additional cost for the school to now have another bus or two take kids. Again, it's just, I mean, it's just ridiculous. So at the end of the day, there's a lot of things that change about it, but on my bucket list would be move this shit to Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I know why they couldn't do it this past year and years past because of scheduling, but I also think that you have it built in the schedule to where by the time they play the semifinals, they have a bye week before the state title game. So now teams that are playing game 15 have 3 bye weeks throughout the season. Personally, I think we should have 1 bye week. That's just me. I think 2 bye weeks create a scheduling nightmare, as we can see, and ultimately, 1 bye week is fine. Let's just do that. And if you want to keep the bye week before the state championship game because of scheduling, go right ahead. Me personally, I would like to get this shit done the week of, let's play these games Black Friday and Saturday, and let's knock this shit out. But that's just me.
We've been told for years now that or I've been told at least when I raise the issue of returning the games back to the schools. Number 1, but the experience for the children, don't care. They're playing for a state championship. That's all that matters. That's all they'll care about. Doesn't matter. The experience of playing in a dome, after about 5 minutes, that crap wears off. You're just playing football. It's for your parents again, who we've established they're idiots. They suck. Um, the other thing is I've been gaslighted for years when I say we understand why our season starts when it does, and we have these bye weeks, and it's not because we're doing what's best for the kids. It's so that we can get it time up for the availability of the dome and when we can play these games. That's what I know. That's what I believe. I'm more sure about that than I am the existence of Bigfoot. But the bottom line is, like you said, and I'm quoting you here, we didn't just cut payouts to play in a nicer stadium. We didn't just shift money away from schools. We didn't just chase a bigger stage. We are now paying out of pocket to keep doing it. And that's not a debate, that's a problem. And again, your attention to detail, the way you go in and research this stuff, kudos to you for doing it. But what really got you stirred up today, what really got you all the way fired up on this He is risen Easter Sunday, and it got you to rise up out the grave, for sure, and to burn through your jelly bean and malted eggs and peeps. I'm sure you got plenty of today was coaches' media presence and administration's response to said media presence. Coach, I'm gonna let you just run as far as you want to with this one.
Well, I'll try to keep my cool here, the best I can, but, sometimes I'm more successful at that than other times. But, yeah, it really it's just been a combination of, conversations I've had with different coaches over the last, few weeks and months and everything about, the stuff that they get emails from their board office or their principals, or they get phone calls or text or whatever. Um, and I got to tell you, these are these coaches that I've spoken to. These are guys that have been, relatively successful, consistently successful. These are guys that win football games. These are guys that are advocates in their community, and the reason why people are. They're very good at promoting their programs, but also they're just very good at controlling the message and the narrative surrounding their program to where you never have to wonder what they're thinking. They're not out here posting, their thoughts on abortion, okay? They're not out here talking about, political leanings, and, they're not putting on their tinfoil hat, and they're not sitting here talking about, storming the Capitol on January 6th, get the hell out of here, okay? They are talking about they're providing their opinion on a football related matter, and you've got non-football people in board offices, in administration, that are so terrified of getting their emails and phones blown up because somebody disagreed with coach. Somebody got their damn feelings hurt in the community. And God forbid somebody in administration has to actually sit there and tell somebody, hey, I stand by my coach. I stand by my coach. I stand by him. He's got every right to say what he wants to say. You also can say what you want to say, and it's okay to have disagreements. That's called being an adult. That's called having adult discourse and productive discourse. Just because you disagree with him doesn't mean that he's this horrible person. We're not talking morality. We're not talking, even professionalism at this point. What we're talking about is somebody sharing an opinion on a topic, on a football related topic, going back and forth with somebody, having a fun conversation that is showing their personality. They're not cursing. They're not representing the community or school in a negative way. They are just showing that, listen, I'm going to make sure we correct the issue on something that you might be accusing me of, or that is going on. I'm going to give you my 2 cents, and you take it for what it is. But at least you heard it straight from the horse's mouth, instead of empowering that and allowing coaches to, really lean into what makes people successful. Boy, we're going to get these damn little pieces of shit admin that have zero spine, that only sit there and are worried about having to they're just worried about having to have anybody's back and be disagreeable, right? Like, they are populist, and populists are the worst. They go with the loudest voices in the room, even if they're the most unhinged voices in the room. These people have zero backbone, and they're going to sit there and go, "Well, he's got a point. You might want to retract that or just cool it down for a little bit. Nah, F that guy. I've seen that guy. He works at Dollar General, smokes Marlboro Reds in his car with the windows up. I don't value his opinion worth a damn. Why do you give a shit? I kicked his kid off 2 separate times for vaping, and y'all couldn't even get his ass an alternative school. But he has it out for me, so every single thing that I do, he's gonna come at me, and at this point, I'm just responding kindly and professionally. But y'all just want me to sit there and play the good little soldier here and not engage. Bullshit. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. If some dumbass wants to try to accuse me or say something to me, they have every single right to catch these hands in a professional way. And you've got to trust people to do it. You've got to set parameters. If that's not what you want out of your football coach, then you explain that shit day one. You provide the parameters, give it to them, and when they do step out of that, again, you clearly communicate the goals and expectations. It's exactly what you want your teachers to do with their damn classrooms. Why is it so hard that you can't do that day one, but instead you want to continue to move the goalpost because you're a piece of shit and because you're a terrible leader and because you have no spine and because you're a just criminally afraid individual. And that's what got my ass fired up today is when I think about people who, because there's people right now that are even responding to the article right now that are sitting there, justifying that, well, you can't trust everybody to have, exercise good, good judgment. Right. But again, you have to set parameters as a leader. You not setting parameters is more of an indication of you not being a good leader than it is of them not expressing good judgment. You didn't have the judgment that should have happened. You didn't take the steps necessary prior to the situation taking place to actually, you know, curb that or say, hey, we don't do this here, right? Try to stay away from this. But you be you, all represent you. Just don't sit here and, you know, uh, uh, avoid, like anything, avoid politics, avoid, avoid, anything that's going to be misconstrued in a moral debate, or anything of that nature. Especially as one of the faces and voices of our school system and as our community, just know that everything you do is under a microscope. And here's the thing, coaches know that that's why some coaches don't post. But again, that's also why I like kind of reaching out to some of those coaches to learn their personalities and see their personalities because I think it's important. I think when you start boxing people in, you start suppressing that down, and then they lose that personality, they lose that fun, they lose that drive, they lose some of that. And I want that shit out and about. Let's have some great personalities and again, the more you put stupid people in their place and publicly shame them for being a complete moron, the more they go away. Okay. I know that back in the 90s and early 2000s, we had a whole no bullying campaign. I'm all for no bullying. But what I'm not for is not putting dumbasses in their place because some people need to realize that just because you have the opportunity and the right to say something about something, you you don't have the intelligence to. So shut your damn mouth and let the adults talk. And that's the problem. We've got people right now on Facebook, blowing up stuff about Lee County and all this other stuff. That guy, if again, I'm a big, Dean Fabrizio fan. I think he does a great job, and I think he's an excellent football coach. And he's got more patience and you know just ability. His restraint is off the charts. Okay, because there's always going to be those people on Facebook, right? Like Facebook's accessible. So ultimately, but there's a guy that runs an account down there that is dragging him, the Bush Club president, everything through the mud, coming from this point of like, he's like a TMZ gossip artist here. And I have it on good authority who that person is. And, I think that a lot of the Lee County people know who it is. And I got to tell you, it would have taken a lot of restraint for my ass not to confront him. especially after some of the things that he put out there that are below the belt. It's disrespectful and it's absurd. But here's the thing: if Coach Fabrizio would have gone back at him, and I don't encourage anybody to go back at anybody on Facebook because, like I said, it's a cesspool. Everybody's stupid on there. But whenever something like that takes place, if imagine if that were on Twitter, right, or on X, and Coach Fabrizio did go back after him right there. The fact that the fact that he wouldn't, and he might be confident that his admin would have his back and everything, and that's great. That's what I want. But imagine if he did that and the admin came back and said, "Hey, you probably need to not say anything and don't engage with it and might need to apologize for going back at him." Again, kick rocks, okay? Kick rocks. That's the kind of bullshit that shows me that you're not willing to go to bat for your people. That's the kind of bullshit that drives me crazy. And ultimately, when we go through all of this, you're going to be judged on how you handle tough situations on the football field, as well as how it is you're perceived in the community. Well, if there's one thing about all the coaches that I've spoken to, that have mentioned having admin have issues with their social media presence, I can guarantee you this: not only are they going to be judged in a positive light for how their handling of those decisions went, but they're also there's not going to be one single person that's going to be able to stand there and say, "Hey, you know what? I didn't know what coach was thinking. I didn't know how he felt about XYZ. I didn't know how much he cared about the program or if he was willing to fight for our program when it's getting poor mouthed, when things are happening." And he's not doing it from a point of not being professional. He is professionally taking some people to task in a very professional way. And to me, every single admin, a couple of them are big school systems, and it doesn't surprise me. These big school systems have some of the worst leadership from guys and gals that were teachers for 3 or 4 years, and they haven't been in classrooms since. But hey, they got that leadership certificate and they've worked their way up the food chain, and now they get to tell you how well you're doing as an instructor, even though they haven't instructed shit since 2005. But that's where we're at. Okay, they need to stay in their damn lane. They need to support their football coaches. They need to allow people and honestly, stop being a populist. Just stop it. Nobody up there again, that same person is going to come to you the next time you hire a football coach and say the same shit. The more you allow that stuff to happen, the worse your programs are going to get. And maybe that's your thing. You don't like football. You don't like that it creates uh, discourse or opinions. But I tell you one thing you do love: you love the check that it brings in. You love that it pays for all your other little bullshit sports. Again, God forbid, if football doesn't bring in money, what are you going to do with competitive cheer? What are you going to do with some of these damn sports, man? They don't make any damn money. But yeah, let's bitch and complain about the football coach having an opinion on something. You want to bitch and complain about the Greene County football coach that y'all just sent through the ringer with his whole situation? Y'all didn't have a principal, superintendent, or anybody in leadership have to go through a video process and then a town hall debate style process, but you're going to sit there and now judge him based on what he puts on social media. Go kick rocks, you pieces of shit. Not saying that that's what they're doing, but hypothetically, if they did, guys, I say I mean, we burn that thing to the ground. But that's just that's what got my blood boiling today. Hopefully we it gets in front of the right people, and I hope the right people see it because yeah, I want them to understand that they're on my list. They're on my list, and the next time that I get alerted about some bullshit, I'm calling them out. Calling them out, and I got no problem to do it.
Well, coach, as always, I appreciate you coming on this week and going over your articles. If people want to make sure they need to look into those on X and read the articles themselves, as they are obviously more detailed than our responses to them. Hope everybody has a great week. I'm on spring break And I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in and listening, and to ask you to like, subscribe, and share, and to remember to relax. It's just satire, mostly.